don't even know how to say it.
After all these years, the man I knew as my pa is dead. My mama married this dead man 2 years after my real daddy died. My children, not my sister and brother. Pa, not pa.
I had someone come up to me last night and basically ask me if my father was another man. And it wasn't even like, is your father's name blank? It was like, you're blank's daughter, right? And I said, what? And he was like, your daddy's name is blank. And I said, no. My father's name is. And I told him my father's name. And he was like, oh. I said, don't start no bullshit. That's exactly what I said. And he was like, no. I said, where did you get that from? And he said, that's what I heard. And I heard it for years. I said, okay. I said, no. And then he said, and your mama? And I knew that he meant and your mama's name. And I told him my mother's name. He was like, yeah. I've known your mama for years. I said, yeah, but she passed in 2019. He said, yeah, I know. I'm sorry to hear that. He said, but I wasn't trying to start nothing. I really wasn't. And I said, okay. And I said, this is not the first time I've heard it from someone that's, thought that this man was my father. I said, to be honest, I think the man thought I was his daughter. But I believe my mama. And what is that saying? Mama's baby, papa's baby. And I truly believe that she know exactly who my daddy is, or who my daddy was. She knew exactly who my daddy was. But it was just really strange because I found it odd that someone that is not related to you, or that's not in your, let's just say friend circle, whether it's, or even your community, would think it okay to ask you a question that's so personal. And it's obvious to me that the individual wasn't sure in the manner that the question was asked, and it was asked like, I just want to know, like, is that her daddy or not? And it just, but like I said, before I knew it, I was like, don't start no bullshit, and I'm at my gig. I don't know which is worse, that, or one time when I was at a gig, our band always, after each set, we'll go out into the audience, we'll talk to the audience. We never go and sit in the green room. We always go back out and we mingle with the audience for the 15-minute break. So during this little 15-minute break one time, I saw a woman kind of walking around with, what do you call it, clipboard. So while she was walking around with this clipboard, sorry y'all, I don't know what's going on. That was a ambulance. As she was walking around with this clipboard, I could see her kind of weave in and out of the crowd kind of quickly. And when she got to me, it was her trying to get me to sign up some political petition. It was something with politics. And I just looked at her and I said, ma'am. And, it's like you could tell that there was a script that she was absolutely bent on saying to me. And I'm just saying, ma'am, I said, I'm sorry. I said, I don't think this is the time for that. And so she's still, trying to give me her little spiel, and she's, doing the little script. And finally, I just kind of touched her on her shoulder. I said, ma'am, I'm working. I'm at my job right now, and this is not the right time for you to try to solicit me to sign anything at my job. And she looked at me and she said, oh, that's right, because I'm a Democrat. And I just looked at her. I said, ma'am, it has nothing to do with your political affiliation, but could I come to your job, stop what you were doing, and ask you to sign a political petition? And then, of course, she continues on to try to say the importance of it, and all it takes is my signature, which would only take a minute, or less than a minute. I think she says it'll take less than a minute, and I just looked at her and I said, have a good day. I'm working. So again, I don't know which is worse. Both were rude. Both were insinuating that they had a relationship with me, that it was okay for them to speak to me in a manner when I'm on my job. Yeah, for even the gentleman to ask me about who my father was, I was still working. What if that was a sore issue? What if that was something that I was presently dealing with? I didn't know. Why would you bring up something like that at someone's job? I don't know. But yeah. So I just wanted to kind of have this conversation about how a lot of times you have to choose to be professional even when you know you have every right not to be. And I know I kind of fell off when I told him don't start no bullshit, because I wanted to make it very clear, I'm not here for that. I don't know where you got that information from, and I had to kind of quickly get my life together, and he apologized. And again, all he just kept saying is, I've heard that for years, and I just wanted to ask, yeah, you being nosy, and no, that's not my dad. So I don't know, but like I said, I wanted to just kind of get it out there how people can be extremely rude, especially when they think they have a connection with you that it's obvious they don't have. The woman who wanted me to sign the petition did not have a relationship with me. The gentleman who asked me who my father was did not have a relationship with me. So anyway, I just want to kind of talk about that very briefly, but I'm going to stop now and get me something to drink before I go to my sorority sister's house and we get on this road. We're on our way to St. Louis to just support another soror and her little girl. Her baby girl is becoming one of our little sisters in our sisterhood, and so we want to go and be supportive. So I'll holler back.